Welcome back to the Grim Tapes. This is chapter 9 of the Apocalypse. I spent an entire week crafting this episode, and we're getting real close to wrapping up season 1. Just one more chapter to go after this. So yeah, things are about to get bloody. If you love this series and want to keep the infected away from your house tonight, do me a favor and absolutely destroy that like button with your mouse. Smash it. Obliterate it, show it no mercy, and hit subscribe to stay alive. Because only the subs survive. Let's dive in.
The wind was soft. The sky, bruised with pink and gold, held the last light of day as Evan knelt in the overgrown field where 3 wooden grave markers stood side by side. He set down 3 small bundles of wildflowers, carefully arranged. The names carved into the wood were simple: Raw, Garen, Rick, Rex. Behind him stood Pamela, one hand resting on her belly, rounded, visible beneath her jacket. Her other hand gently held Evan's shoulder. Pamela, softly, "It's been years. Feels like a lifetime. And somehow, like yesterday." Evan, staring at the graves. "Yeah, not a day goes by I don't think about them. They were the best of us. Brave, loud, stubborn as hell." He chuckles under his breath, then his voice grows quiet. "You'd be proud of us. We made it. Somehow. And we're still building. Still fighting." He places his hand on the middle marker, Garen's. "I wanted you to know. It's a boy. We're naming him Garex. A piece of all 3 of you." Pamela, smiling through emotion. "He'll be just as stubborn, I'm sure." Evan, standing. "God, I hope not." They laugh, a brief, warm silence. Pamela, "You're gonna be a good dad, Evan." Just then, Karkow, the static of a walkie-talkie. Kanan, over radio. "Evan, you need to come to HQ. Now, it's urgent." Evan's expression hardens. He turns to Pamela. "Evan, I'll be home late." Pamela, touching her belly, half whispering, "Your dad's a busy man, Garex. We'll try not to be too hard on him." Evan weaving through the market district. Crates stacked, torches lit, children laughing in the distance. The atmosphere is calm, too calm. He reaches a tall metal building, reinforced with barbed wire and salvaged armor. 2 guards stand at the front. "Guard, evening, Commander." The heavy door creaks open. Inside, around a large table scattered with papers, maps, and LED lamps, stand Chris, Maria, Kanan, Phoebe, Caleb, and Delta. The room goes dead silent as Evan steps in. Chris, clearing his throat. Well, we've got a problem." Evan, crossing his arms. "How big of a problem are we talking here? That I had to come all the way in?" Phoebe, serious. "It is not a problem yet, but it will be if we done to act now." Evan, sighs. "Come on, people, spit it out." Caleb, "It's a vessel, military Navy ship. Delta, full of infected." Maria, chiming in. "Most likely an evacuation ship, back when everything went to hell. Someone bit probably got on board." Delta, "It's been drifting for years. No destination, no power." Evan, "So why the hell is this our concern?" Chris, grimly, "It wasn't, until Kanan and Lisa showed me this." He hands Evan a file. Evan flips it open. Grainy satellite images, coordinates, scribbled math. Evan, "What is this?" Kanan, "It was just a hunch at first, but after tracking drift patterns and currents, that ship is heading straight for us. Direct line to the island." Evan, silent, thinking, calculating. "How long?" Chris, 2 days. It'll hit the South Jungle shoreline." The room tightens with quiet tension. Evan, "All right, here's the plan. Phoebe, Caleb, Delta, prep your squads. Lock and load. Chris, Maria, Kanan, gather every builder, welder, and able body. You're building a kill zone." He looks around the room. Every eye is on him. Evan, commanding. "After that, you join my team." Everyone got it? All in unison. Loud and clear. Evan, grinning. "Good. Then move out. Let's get this party started. Time's the one thing we can't buy." Outside HQ, the wind has changed. The skies are darker than they should be at midday. The jungle hums with tension. Evan and Keenan walk side by side, a folded satellite map between them, coffee steam rising from their mugs. Evan, pointing at the coast. So you're saying this thing's gonna drift right here? Keenan, nodding. South Jungle Line, 4 clicks east of Outpost Echo. There's a cove, natural U-shaped trap. Bad for ships, good for us. Evan, that gives us a shot to funnel them. Make them come to us. Keenan, if we use the terrain right. Yeah, but it'll be dense, close quarters, jungle combat. Evan, perfect. Back near HQ, construction is already underway. Chris and Maria stand on top of a supply truck, shouting orders while people below move like a well-oiled machine, hammering spikes, welding barricades, dragging coils of barbed wire. Chris, shouting, I want steel pikes every 10 meters. If it bleeds, we funnel it right into hell. Maria, to a group of welders, you're setting the claymores in pairs. Jungle floor's unstable, so use doubled stakes. We need 3 layers of defense by nightfall. Children and elders are being evacuated. Fighters and builders work side by side. It's no longer a village. It's a war zone in preparation. A clearing near the western barracks. Fabi, Caleb, and Delta are inspecting rows of soldiers, not recruits, not militia. These are 100 elite warriors, hardened through years of blood, training, and survival. They were once 20, now they are 100, and each one could take on 10 men alone. Lean, scarred, unshaken, kill switch ready. They train in silence, knife drills, live fire, jungle maneuver routines. Every motion is sharp, controlled, lethal. Then, Evan walks in. The moment his boots hit the dirt, the entire unit freezes and turns. As one, they snap to attention, fists over hearts. All together. Welcome, Commander. Evan pauses, scanning the field. His voice cuts through the air like a blade. Evan, I look at you, and I don't see survivors anymore. I see weapons. You've trained like dogs, bled like wolves. And now? Now you're predators. The kind of soldiers that make the infected afraid. If they could feel fear. Most people out there, they run from monsters. You run toward them. That ship, that floating tomb full of rot, it thinks it's bringing death to our home. But it has no idea who it's dealing with. We're not defending this island. We're making a statement that humanity doesn't go down without drawing blood. That this place, these people, they're under our watch. So tomorrow, when that metal coffin hits our shores, we don't just hold the line, we send a message. This island fights back. Now get ready, because we're not just surviving anymore. We're taking back the world, one infected corpse at a time. The 100 elite soldiers shout in unison, fists raised to the sky. For humanity. Evan nods, then turns back toward the jungle where the defenses rise, where the shadows grow darker, and where the ocean whispers of what's coming.
It was well past midnight. The moon hung heavy over the island, casting a silvery glow through the mist-covered jungle. Most of the village was asleep, save for a few guards on night watch and the distant hiss of welding sparks in the kill zone. Evan walked through the front door of his home, slow and quiet. It wasn't much, but it was home. The walls were made from old ship hulls and sanded wood, sealed tight with jungle resin. A shelf of old books, most salvaged from the mainland, sat beneath a softly humming solar lamp. Framed photos, faded, water-stained, hung above a weathered dining table. 2 mismatched chairs. One of them always creaked. On the table sat a plate of food, now cold. Roasted fish, jungle greens, and a tin cup of berry juice. A small note was folded next to the plate. For you. Be safe. I love you. P. Evan smiled faintly. He set his weapons gently on the rack by the door, peeled off his boots, and walked barefoot across the creaking floorboards toward the bedroom. The room was dim, lit only by a small jar lantern. Pamela was curled on her side, her hair draped across the pillow like a ribbon, breathing slow and deep. The blanket rose and fell with the rhythm of sleep, stretched over the gentle curve of her stomach. Evan lowered himself onto the bed beside her. With a tenderness that betrayed the steel in his voice earlier that day, he reached out and gently tucked a loose hair strand behind her ear. She stirred. Her eyes blinked open, soft and tired. Pamela, smiling sleepily. "Oh, hey honey, how did everything go?" Evan, softly. "Busy. Ship's coming in 2 days. Big one. We've got every hand on deck building traps, prepping troops." Pamela, half teasing. "So, the usual?" Evan, grinning. "Basically. Except this time, it's a floating meat grinder heading straight for us." He slid under the blanket beside her, propped himself up on one elbow, and placed his hand gently on her belly. Evan, to the baby. "Hey, little Garex. Sorry I missed dinner again. Turns out keeping humanity alive is kinda time-consuming." Pamela, chuckling. "You're gonna owe this kid a lot of bedtime stories." Evan, mock serious. "Nah, he's tough. I can already tell. Probably doing push-ups in there." He moved his face closer to her stomach, whispering in a mock-tough voice. Evan, "Hey, soldier. This is your commanding officer speaking. Operation Be Born is on track. Mission parameters. Be cute, don't kick your mom too hard, and if you come out with abs, I won't be surprised." Pamela, laughing quietly. "Oh my God, stop. He's gonna come out flexing." Evan, "Exactly. Garex six-pack steel. Future war hero. Chick magnet. Also, your dad is banned from dad jokes. Starting now." Pamela reached up and pulled him into a tired but loving kiss. Pamela, whispering, "Come to bed, Commander. Just for a little while." Evan, whispering back, "Just long enough to remember what I'm fighting for." Outside, the wind picked up. The waves crashed harder against the southern cliffs. But inside that little home, the world was quiet. And for one moment, Evan Steele was not a commander, not a warrior, not the man saving an island from hell. He was just a father-to-be, lying beside the woman he loved. Listening to the faint thump of a tiny heartbeat beneath his palm. The sun was still low, barely spilling gold across the treetops. Outside, birds called softly between rustling leaves. From deeper in the island, hammers could be heard in rhythmic bursts, steel striking steel. Life moved early here, especially now. Knock, knock, knock. The sound echoed through the house, firm but respectful. Inside, a dim sliver of light crept through the bamboo shades. The sheets on the bed shifted. Pamela, voice muffled but clear. "Evan, wake up. Now. Someone's at the door." Evan groaned, turning his face into the pillow, one hand draped protectively over her belly. Pamela, tapping his shoulder. "Commander Steele, up, go save the world or whatever." He groaned again, but swung his legs off the bed and stood, taking of his t-shirt, scarred, muscles stiff from the previous day. He tossed on a shirt, ran a hand through his hair, and stepped toward the door, boots in hand. He opened the door to find Sawyer standing there, tall, clean-cut, dirt on his boots and sweat already shining on his brow. His rifle was slung across his back like an afterthought. Sawyer, grinning. "Morning, Commander. Sorry to wake you." Evan smirked and stepped aside as Pamela leaned into the hallway from the bedroom, hair tied up, wrapped in a blanket. Pamela, teasing, "Next time bring coffee, Sawyer." Sawyer, nodding with a respectful smile. "Ma'am, you've got my word on it." Then his face settled into something more serious. He handed Evan a small notepad with scribbled coordinates, sketches, and updates. "Sawyer, scouting teams finish the perimeter. Traps are 60% complete. Kill zones forming faster than projected. Delta's squad is already running drills by the jungle's edge." Evan scanned the notes while leaning against the doorframe, nodding slowly. Sawyer, continuing. Keenan S. engineers rigged motion triggers from some of the old drone parts. If anything gets within 30 meters, we'll know. Evan, any word from the East Ridge? Sawyer, no movement. No fog yet either, which makes me more nervous, not less. But our snipers are posted. Caleb's boys haven't blinked in hours. He glanced past Evan to Pamela again. Sawyer, gently. "You're good to stay in this morning, Commander. We've got it covered for now. Go eat your breakfast." Be with your family. He offered a smile, not out of politeness, but out of real understanding. Sawyer, we'll see you at 1200. Sharp. He gave a two-fingered salute, turned, and walked back down the dusty path, disappearing into the growing hum of preparation beyond the trees. Evan stood there for a moment, still holding the notepad. Behind him, Pamela's voice floated from the kitchen. Pamela. Food's still warm. Miracle of miracles. You gonna sit down, or just stare dramatically into the distance? He finally smiled and closed the door. The soft clink of cutlery and the quiet hum of jungle life filled the small kitchen. Evan sat at the table, finally eating, pancake with maple syrup. Across from him, Pamela was quiet, stirring her tea but not drinking it. Her eyes weren't on the food. They were on him. Evan, noticing. All right. What is it? Pamela looked up, lips tight, brow furrowed. She held his gaze for a long second, then pushed her tea aside and came around the table. She sat beside him, took his hand, and laid it over her stomach. Pamela, softly. Don't you dare die out there. Her voice cracked slightly. The edge of it held real fear, the kind that only grows when you've lost too much already. Pamela, not now. Not when we've come this far. Come back to us, no matter what. Evan leaned in and touched his forehead to hers. Evan, low and sure, I will. I promise. He placed his other hand over hers, sandwiching her fingers between his calloused palms. Evan, there's no world worth saving if you're not in it. You and Garrex, you're my anchor. Pamela, whispering with a small smile. You're not allowed to make me cry before breakfast. They kissed. Soft, slow, the kind you don't rush when you don't know how many more you get. Then, a creak. Both of them glanced at the door. A small shadow darted out of sight, but not fast enough. Pamela squinted. Pamela, raising an eyebrow. Did you just see that? Evan, mock serious. Yep. Pretty sure we're being watched. Smells like spy activity. Pamela, playing along. An infiltrator, possibly from Sector Cookie Stealer. A tiny voice came from behind the half-open door. Lisa, timidly. Can I say hi to baby Garrex? Evan grinned. Pamela lit up and stood, walking to the door. She opened it fully. Pamela, warmly. Lisa, sweetie, of course you can. Evan, but only if you're not here to interrogate me about the extra pudding cups again. Lisa, giggling as she stepped in. That was one time. She tiptoed over to Pamela and gently placed a small hand on her belly, wide-eyed. Lisa, whispering. Hi, Garrex. It's me, Lisa. I brought him a drawing, but it got smudged. I'll make another one. Pamela. He'll love that. Evan, smiling. Kid's not even born and already more popular than me. Lisa. Obviously. Pamela, laughing. Come on, sit with us. You hungry? Lisa looked between them shyly, then nodded. Evan, standing to get another plate. One seat at the Steele family table coming right up. The morning continued, not with war talk or strategies, but with laughter, warmth, and a shared breakfast. Just for a little while. The jungle wasn't quiet anymore. Birds had flown off days ago. Now it was steel, hammers, ropes, sweat, orders shouted through the trees, and time ticking like a war drum. Evan stood at the top of a small hill, a hand-drawn map flapping in his grip, sweat beading down his temple. From this vantage point, he could see everything. Below, soldiers were planting landmines along key choke points, each one marked by colored flag stakes sticking from the mud like oversized pins on a warboard. To the left, a team hoisted up a rope bridge between two massive jungle trees, crude but sturdy, connecting lookout towers nestled in the canopy. To the right, welders were reinforcing a log palisade, layer by layer, dragging salvaged metal to bolt into the front-facing wall. Spike trenches yawned just beyond it. Above them all, a massive tree-mounted stereo rig, half-scavenged, half-engineered from old concert gear, was being wired together by Kanan, his fingers moving fast through a tangle of wires, sweat pouring from his face. Evan squinted as a cluster of familiar faces approached him fast from the jungle path. Chris, Maria, Sawyer, Phoebe, Caleb, and Delta, all armored, dirt-smeared, and not smiling. Chris, without hesitation, "We've got a delay on the northern claymores. Moisture's affecting the trigger lines. Boom's unreliable." Maria, "Also, 3 of the guard towers still don't have ladders. You want rope or retractable stairs?" Sawyer, "We found a dead zone in the trench layout. It's just wide enough for a breach if they swarm hard." Phoebe, gritting her teeth, "Ammo drop from Depot 4 is late. No confirmation yet." Caleb, 2 scouts haven't checked in since sunrise." Delta, "Do we hold back reserves or use everyone day 1? It hit all at once. 6 problems. 1 man, 1 day left." Evan, without blinking, "Claymores. Reroute to backup triggers. Use metal wire from the radio piles if you have to. I want those set by sunset." Maria, "Retractable stairs. If we have to fall back, I don't want ladders being used against us." Sawyer, "Redirect the breach zone. Reposition Delta's 2nd unit. Plant spikes and fallback mines." Phoebe, "Forget the drop. Split ammo evenly across squads. Everyone gets 2 mags and 1 desperation clip." Caleb, "Give your best 2 men to track the scouts. Quietly." Delta, "Full force on day 1. No reserves. We finish this clean." The team stood in stunned silence for just a moment. Chris, exhaling, "Damn, you already had it all planned out, didn't you?" Evan, coldly, "I didn't sleep much." Maria, grinning, "Copy that, Commander." They scattered, each running to execute their tasks. Meanwhile, at the center of the kill zone, Kanan crouched under the jungle stereo, now bolted to a dead tree that towered over the valley. He connected the final cable, adjusted the frequency, and flipped the switch. Nothing. His jaw clenched. He pulled out a screwdriver, tightened the ground wire, tried again. A deep hum shook the trees, then bass, then feedback, then music, loud, unmistakable. A thrumming, pulsing track that echoed through the jungle. Kanan, grinning with relief. She lives. Back on the ridge, Evan watched everything come together. Traps set, teams in motion, towers rising. The sun was falling faster than anyone wanted it to. 1 day left, 1 shot at survival, and no time to waste. Boots thudded against the soil, moving as one. The jungle foliage split quietly as Evan marched through the trees, 100 elite soldiers following in his wake. They didn't speak, didn't breathe too loud. The only sounds were shifting gear, muffled footsteps, and the quiet buzz of comms flicking on. The canopy above filtered morning light into golden rays, cutting through the humidity like stage lights on a war theater. They reached the ridge above the kill zone, where steel traps and sharpened pikes waited, silent and deadly. Evan stopped. He turned slowly, his eyes scanning each face. They were calm, focused, muscles taut, eyes cold. Once farmers, mechanics, broken survivors. Now, killers, weapons, wolves. He moved between them, speaking as he walked, not barking, not shouting, but commanding. Evan measured. "This will be your ground. You will shoot from these trees. Use elevation. Control your angles. Watch each other's backs. If you get cornered, you do what we practiced. Breakout formation. Push through. Stay close. No lone heroes." He passed a knot of soldiers crouched behind a log wall. He placed his hand on one of their shoulders, a younger man, barely 20, but hardened by fire. "Evan, if you go silent, someone finds you. If you're overwhelmed, call it in. Say the word. Help will come." He turned to the full line of them now, spread like shadows across the jungle. "Evan," voice rising, "you've trained for this day. Some of you came to us broken, weak, looking for strength. Some of you watched from hiding as those things tore your loved ones apart, and you stood there, helpless." He let the silence settle, let the memory hang in the air like smoke. "Evan, but now? Now you can stand, not as prey, not as survivors, as soldiers, elite, top tier, kill zone certified monsters. You earned that. Every blister, every scar, every breath you thought you couldn't take, you earned this title, strong. Now hold the line like your lives depend on it, because all of ours do. He took one step back. Evan, roaring, remember who you are. The soldiers raised their fists, slamming them to their chests in one unified cry that shook the trees, all shouting, "For humanity! Hurrah!" Birds scattered. Even the wind paused. They weren't an army. They were a wall, and hell was coming straight for them. Night fell like a curtain. Deep blue skies layered with stars that blinked quietly over the jungle. But down below, the island was alive. Torches crackled in barrels. Tables were dragged into long rows under stretched cloth tarps. Smoke curled from cook fires, and the scent of grilled fish, spiced meatballs, roasted corn, and simmering broth filled the air like an embrace. Large clay bowls overflowed with steamed rice and stewed greens, passed hand to hand by grease-stained fingers and calloused palms. Laughter rose. Clanking tin cups echoed. The sound of barrels being cracked open and foamy beer splashing into mugs followed. It wasn't a quiet meal. It was a feast, a final one. They didn't eat like survivors. They ate like kings, if just for one night. Phoebe bit into a roast leg with juice dripping down her chin. Delta poured beer into Caleb's mouth while he sat backward on a bench, laughing with half a chicken in his hand. Sawyer threw an entire cob of corn at a soldier who stole his seat, and caught a meatball to the face in return. Even Evan smiled, a real, unguarded smile, as he raised a wooden mug in one hand and kept the other resting gently on Pamela's knee beneath the table. Children ran through the legs of warriors. Drums began to beat in the background, slow at first. And then, voices rose. Not just drunken singing, not something silly or wild. A chant, low and steady at first, then louder, fiercer, unified. A song for the fallen, the three whose names had become legend here. For Garen, Rick, and Rex, they banged fists on tables, stomped boots on the dirt. A rhythm pounded into the heart of the night. The Song of the Three. For Garen, who stood through fire and flame, a heart of steel, a warrior's name. He never knelt, he never fled. He bled for us when the skies turned red. For Rick, the shield, who stood the line, who cracked a joke and bought us time. He laughed at death and faced it loud. Now thunder walks beneath his shroud. For Rex, the last to fall that day, his blade still sings, his boots still stay. We march with him, we speak his name, and every strike will light his flame. Three we lost, but never gone. They fight through us. We carry on for Garen, Rick, and Rex. We cry for humanity. We do not die. The chant rolled through the trees. Old men wept silently. Young ones pounded the table like a war drum. No one spoke afterward, not right away. They just stared at the fire and let the silence settle one last time. The fire crackled low now, glowing embers casting orange light across dirt-streaked faces. Some soldiers still nursed their drinks, others leaned back on crates or sat cross-legged, watching the flames like they might whisper answers. A young voice broke the stillness. Young soldier, softly, with hesitation. "Hey, Commander Evan?" Heads turned, conversations paused. Young soldier, clearing his throat. "I was just wondering, were they afraid? You know, Garen, Rick, and Rex, when they held the line?" Evan looked up slowly from his cup, the firelight catching in his eyes. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he stood. He stepped forward, boots crunching in the dirt, and looked around at the gathered soldiers, veterans and newcomers alike. When he spoke, his voice was calm, measured, reverent. Garen didn't show an ounce of fear. He was the kind of man who made fear feel small just by being near him. He looked that thing in the eyes, that monster we now call Breaker, and he didn't flinch. Rick and Rex, they didn't ask questions. They didn't hesitate. They followed him, not because they were ordered to, but because they believed in something bigger than themselves. He let the silence settle. No one moved. Even the jungle seemed to listen. I remember their eyes, There was no panic, no last-minute doubt. They knew. A soldier's life is rarely a long one, but they also knew what was at stake. Their sacrifice, it wasn't mine to ask for. They gave it willingly, and it saved us all. They were my friends, my role models, and damn if they weren't the bravest men I've ever known. Evan looked around the fire at the weathered young faces, some still barely out of boyhood. His gaze softened. They'd be proud of you, all of you, how far you've come, what you've built, what you're about to defend. He let out a long breath, half tired, half steady. Evan, with a slight grin. "It's getting late, lads. Don't stay up too long. Tomorrow we send those bastards back to the abyss where they belong." He gave a nod, turned, and walked into the night, the torchlight casting his shadow long behind him. Around the fire, no one spoke for a moment. Then someone quietly poured another drink. And somewhere, from the edge of the trees, the wind picked up. Just a whisper. The calm before the storm.
And that's it for Chapter 9 of the Apocalypse. If you're still alive by the end of this episode, congratulations. You're officially tougher than half the characters in this story. If you liked what you saw, punch that like button in the face, then duct tape it to the wall and hit subscribe before the infected get here. And here's your mission, survivors. Drop a comment below and tell me, if the zombie ship landed on your island, what's your weapon of choice? Are you going full katana samurai mode, or building a potato cannon and hoping for the best? Let me know. Best answer gets unofficial leadership of the next fire team. Until then, stay sharp, stay weird, and keep your snacks away from the zombies. The Grim Tapes out.